an exciting initiative that you're working on, Smart Community Initiative.
Well, thank you, Ursula, and thank you to the ITU for this opportunity to speak about smart and sustainable cities. Our collaborative group, Digital Divide Partners, is intimately involved in harnessing technology to improve urban life, particularly by bringing free internet access to public housing residents in New York City, which alone has a population of over 400,000. This includes providing tools to make the most of that access, from community-based streaming station studios to create audio and audiovisual content, to cameras and even smart lighting combined with resident apps to improve public safety. We call our effort the Smart Community Initiative, which is focused around free access and technology services that help people to become smarter. The Internet Society, of which I'm a board member of the New York chapter, believes that the Internet is for everyone. People should not have to pay anything, we believe, to access municipal and healthcare services, nor should there only be one way of providing service to our urban communities. The Smart Community Initiative recently launched the Grant Houses Community Radio Station at ghcr.nyc, which is a community-controlled streaming station that is programmed by and for local residents in this West Harlem community. ghcr.nyc is a platform that enables residents to tell their own stories, control the narrative of their lives, something that is woefully lacking in the media landscape we have today, where basically we have no voice and the media is relentlessly focused on the negative and sensationalistic aspects of public housing. The Smart Community Initiative is also operating a streaming station at James Weldon Johnson Houses in East Harlem. Its foundational program, the Wisdom Table, launched 3 years ago, is a weekly roundtable conversation with community elders that focuses on family issues, healthy eating, home remedies, healthcare, the criminal justice system, and other topics of interest to the resident host producers. Take a look at jwjcr.nyc or search YouTube for the Wisdom Table. Have a look at what we're doing there. In addition to streaming over the internet, both of these community radio stations are broadcasting 24/7 around their respective residential campuses, utilizing low-power FM under FCC Part 15 rules. This is important in that the FM radio ties into the emergency preparedness and mitigation services provided by the WHCR emergency broadcast team. This is another community-controlled information service provided under the Smart Community Initiative that provides emergency information both over the internet at whcrebt.org as well as over 95.9 FM. The Smart Community Initiative also includes remote sensors and video monitoring services of public facilities and spaces available to all residents within the service communities. Community feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, with reported increases in quality of life, information and resource availability, and enhanced safety. When services and applications are developed collaboratively from the ground up and provided free, that's FREE of charge, everyone wins.
Can you tell us a little, this is super exciting. What could be done to expand and sustain this exciting initiative to reach more people?
Thank you for asking. There are a lot of challenges. One of the fundamental challenges to expanding the Smart Community Initiative is the pervasive structural income inequality in many of our urban communities, particularly here in New York City. The city of New York spends $17 billion every year purchasing goods and services, and in fact is the largest such purchaser of services in the city. And yet, in a city that is 70% non-white, less than 10% of that municipal spending is with so-called minorities, which according to the city includes white women as well as people of color. We believe this has to change. As I noted earlier in my remarks, the city of New York public housing contains 400,000 people. This is a population the size of the city of Boston or the entire state of Vermont. and it has an unemployment rate of over 50%. The average household income is at the national poverty level, just barely, $24,000. And perhaps not surprisingly, it is estimated that 50% of this population does not have internet access at home. This digital divide in the nation's largest and most sophisticated city is appalling. While there have been many well-intentioned efforts to offer so-called affordable internet access to urban communities, no one can define what affordable is to families struggling to put food on the table, keep the kids' clothes, pay the rent and the doctor bills. As I have stated earlier, free is the only answer to what is affordable for this under-resourced community. The same attention and effort expressed for providing internet access to rural communities needs to be applied to our urban communities. Debilitating economic forces and paternalistic corporate and government initiatives have together resulted in devastating outcomes for our urban communities. As we focus on smart cities, let's not forget that neighborhoods and communities are the fundamental building blocks of cities. This is our fight and our struggle that can only be addressed by concerted efforts led by progressive folks on the ground, like public housing leaders that we work with. I just want to call out a couple names: Ms. Ethel Velez, Carlton Davis, Polly Spain, John Johnson, and many others that are working to marshal the economic resources to level the playing field and bring the Smart Community Initiative to those communities most in need of this service. I invite you all to visit our various websites, and if you have a chance to come visit our streaming stations right here in New York City. Thank you for this opportunity to talk.
Thank you so much, Stuart. I think it was so important as well. You really brought out so well the inclusion aspect. And I saw a statistic recently, I think coming from the city, that across the city, 29% of households, and clearly a lot higher percentage in public housing, don't have broadband connection. So that has so many implications for being able to access a lot of the benefits that we've talked about. So important. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Rick, what become present for you? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Yeah, I hear you now. What became present for you when you heard our guy, Mr. Stu Reed, down at the United Nations, letting the people of the world know what time it is?
What became present for me? On the mic?
Yeah.
What became present for me is how I felt when I woke up this morning, when I went to bed last night, when I woke up this morning, sitting in the park waiting for you. What became present is what's about to happen. I see it happening. Something amazing is happening right now. Something amazing, something on the level of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King movement, the Civil Rights Movement, Barack Obama becoming president. I mean, something big is happening right now.
Wow.
I mean, this is we talking about something historical that's happening right now. That's what I see.
Grand Houses was at the UN today, bro. This is Friday, excuse me. Grand Houses was represented at the UN.
Yeah.
And so was Mr. Carlton Davis.
Yes.
At the UN, and they, not only that, at the UN, they all know GHCR.NYC.
Yeah.
And they can tune in right now, and they can see me and you going, whoa.
Okay.
So you're right. This is maybe you're right. Maybe this is a step forward of the movement to help people to be smarter. But what became present when Stu was saying all that? Did any of that resonate with you?
Everything resonated with me. But sitting here a couple of weeks ago, when I heard Nellie Bailey say that this is a movement, this is what is the movement. That's exactly what it is. It became clear to me as soon as she said it. I said, "Yeah, this is a movement." Because I have a movement within myself that I want to bring out, which is the personal development movement, and share that with as many people. So I want that to be a part of this, what y'all doing. I think it's a perfect marriage. It's a perfect marriage. Personal development with the work that y'all doing.
Well, the streaming station is not. This is just some of the the stuff that we've been doing. Like, this is the same job we've been doing over the years. You know, we've been going in places where they have nothing, and then when we leave, they have something.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
That's like, you know,
That is awesome.
it's like
man.
sports. You know, you go to the gym, the arena, and there's no game. And when everybody shows up, something happens. We have a game.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And so this is the same type of thing. You know, you show up, make something happen. You know, that obviously that people want to happen. And that's what this kind of is. I like the fact that he talked about that, you know, if the money was redistributed, because, see, I have a problem. I think that the way that things are run is cultural, you know, not regional. If things were run regionally, then you'd have somebody from down south would be the president, somebody from Seattle would be the president, somebody from Michigan would be the president. You know, it would be regionally mixed up. But we don't have that. What we have is cultural, where only one type of person of the same group, of the same race, have actually been running stuff. And I think right now, if you really want to make things more equal, you got to bring more people in. And you shouldn't be afraid of being teamwork with your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be, because that's what I think is what we're seeing. We're seeing people being concerned.
Right.
And that maybe things are going to be different. And it's okay for things to be different. It's okay to be smarter, man. You know, it's a good thing.
So my question is, when are you guys going to get me to the United Nations? That's what I want to know.
I'm not in charge of that. You didn't see me at the United Nations. What are you talking about? You didn't even see me there.
I'm talking about.
I don't know.
You showed me.
I showed you Stu at the United Nations. I think that's a question you have to ask Stu, because Stu was the one that got somehow or another was at the United Nations. Nobody asked me to come there. They asked Stu. So on our behalf, which is a beautiful thing.
You might be next.
And listen, I don't care as long as somebody went down there and talked about what we're doing, the movement, and the movement includes everything that we're doing, including the positive stuff that you do, the emergency broadcast team, the thing that it's teamwork, and that's what I liked about what he did. That's what became president for me, is that he went down there and he talked about what the team's doing.
So teamwork truly makes the dream work.
That's exactly right. And if you want to have a movement, and not the kind of movement that you have in the bathroom, by the way, you want to have a movement. You want to have a movement that actually encompasses other people's dreams, including yours.
Okay, so what do you think about what I'm saying? Is that what you guys are doing is on a level of it's historical. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
what do you see?
Well, I always, I always relate things back analogistically to basketball, and I just look at it as being, when you get a chance to play with the best players. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you get a chance to, all of a sudden, when you see that you're playing. Well, let me say this. There was a time, I remember playing with my friends who are, around the block, and I saw that I had become where they didn't want to play with me anymore because I was hitting them in the head, doing all kinds of things, because I was advancing in that particular skill, unbeknownst to me, even. I didn't even get it. And, of course, and I just got kind of led to playing more with the organized and not with my particular friends. And I saw the difference that when I played with, going to other levels, there was guys who were really good. You wasn't like friends or nothing with them, but you had a kinship with them because of the sport. So that's what I see, how you can have something, like, what you're doing here, and it's, it's all about your skill level. Can you go in and make something happen, right? And usually people bring in people who have the skills. So when we were brought in here, I mean, this, if you went back and looked at our track record, this is like maybe like, something that this was kind of like not that hard, technically.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the doing part. I'm not saying that it was easy. Anybody could do. I'm saying the technical part of just putting everything together. We were very confident that could happen. The hardest part was getting somebody to say, "Hey, why don't you do it?"
At some point, I would like to do an interview, maybe with you, maybe even with Stu, and talk about this from the very beginning. Like take it back to the
two shovels and the two-pick. That's what we call it. When we started out with two shovels and a two-pick. We was going to build a cable system. I always remember that. And we had got a contract at this place called Melrose Houses, the projects. And somehow,
That's in the Bronx?
yeah. Somehow we had got a contract to provide HBO to the whole development. And
Now, how long ago was this?
this was 1990, 1980 something.
Yeah.
They only, just before cable, they only had like these. You only had 2 channels in New York City, which was HBO and Metco. And so somehow, and this one company controlled it for like 15 or 20 years, and somehow we kind of like squeezed in there, figured out how to get in. So we got a contract, and all of a sudden they said, they was trying to get rid of us, and we went downtown, and it was this older lady who, when we walked in, said, "Oh, now I see what all of the commotion was about." All of a sudden, 2 black guys got a contract from the housing authority to provide this, and people were nervous, upset. But anyway, so we went to the place, and he said, you got to get started. And I had to go see the groundskeeper, an older black guy from down south, to let him know that we were going to be putting in the cable system. 2 black dudes, we ain't had no truck. We had shit. So
Wow.
we walked in, and the dude said, "Okay, so what y'all going to be doing?" I said, "Yo, man, we're going to be putting in the cable system." He said, "Oh, okay." He said, so we're going to be running wires from this building, that building. He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Break up the ground, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Okay." He said, he said, "You guys got the he said, "I heard about this cable thing." I said, "Yeah, we're going to be putting the cable." He said, "I heard all about that." He said, "Y'all guys going to have the Cowboy Channel?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Then go ahead, do the shit."
What is the Cowboy Channel?
But he wanted a channel, he liked cowboy movies. He said, "Are you going to have a channel on there that has nothing but cowboy?" I said, "Yeah." So, so then he said, "Okay." So he said, "Go ahead." So we went outside, he said, "Go ahead, get started to work." And then we got outside, and I remember going back inside to his, he was in charge of the landscape. He had all these tools inside his place. And I walked back inside, and I said, "You think I could borrow one of those shovels and the pick?" We didn't even have no tools. He said, "Oh, so you guys going to build a cable company, and all you got is 2 shovels and that toothpick in your mouth." So that's how. And he gave me the shovel and the pick, and we went out there and started breaking the ground with the pick, trying to break the concrete ground, which obviously didn't work.
But I want to show you the difference with information, knowledge, and just knowing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bob Proctor, I told you, he said, I interviewed Bob Proctor. He says, "I make money all over the world." Somebody gave him a copy of Think and Grow Rich.
Right, I read the book.
And he read the book.
So did I.
And he says, "I read it over and over and
So
over
did I.
again." And he says, "I make money all over the world." He says, "I'm not that smart." So not being smart is not a bad thing.
No.
Because I'm
It's a
gonna
good
take
thing.
I'm gonna take it back, because there was a time around the 90s I was working with this company in Queens, and we were knocking on people's door asking them to get HBO because they
That's
didn't have
right.
HBO.
Well,
I did not realize what the
but we were the guys who they would send to the building to activate the HBO.
in Queens.
In Queens, we worked in Queens. We worked all over the city,
Isn't that
and we
something?
would put the HBO in, and we would put the stuff in people's house. This is me and Stu, but at the same time, I was in grad school. I was in grad school at the time, and what I was really doing was doing a survey as to who didn't have cable. Because I kept thinking you could build your own cable system. I built my own cable system, and everybody thought that something was wrong with me, which of course there was.
Because there were a few people in the Bronx that had this thing called HBO.
And we worked in the Bronx too.
And I'm knocking on people's door in Queens
Right. $15 for one channel.
to show you how clueless I was.
Well, why would you know that? And here's the funny,
Yeah.
then they added a second channel, which was the UHH channel, that after 12 o'clock it had porno, semi-porno movies. So we would put those 2 channels in, and then we graduated to to doing the buildings, and then we graduated from not only doing the buildings, and then we met this black guys, these white guys rather, who were venture capitalists, and they said, and I went in and I said, "Hey, a lawyer rather," and I said, "Hey, man, we can build our own cable system. The rules is whatever." And they said, "Oh, you need a business plan." I said, "What's that?" And they said, "You need a business plan so somebody could give you the money." I said, "Okay." So I was already I was in grad school. I said, "Oh," so I just went and I was in this special program where they only took like 15 students every year. And it was a program really, at the time, there was only 2 programs on the East Coast that had a telecommunications program. So I kind of talked my way into that. And they had a lot of technology there that and computers and all kind of shit. And so I was able to write a business plan and do it. We used VisiCalc, spreadsheet, and all this other stuff. We didn't even know how hard all this stuff was. And we were able to write a business plan that kind of evolved, and we were able to pitch it. And we eventually met some venture capitalists who said, oh, yeah, that shit's a good idea. We'll put money in it. And so we then, all of a sudden, not only, they made us intern at a cable system in Newark that they had funded. So every day we were in the city of Newark watching and learning how a cable company works. It was run by a black guy. And then we became partners with the black guy and building the cable system and doing the installs. And all of a sudden we became experts just by kind of like.
Now, how did you meet a graduate from Columbia University, Stuart Reed?
Well, I used to be a basketball player, and a guy who I used to play basketball, who seen me play basketball, kind of like you, a guy like you that I knew, he had seen me when I was, before I got in that grad school program, I was going to go to film school. And so I was fooling around with video equipment, shooting videos, making little films, like the Flatbush Detective Agency. I made a little film. And I was shooting something on 125th Street of a brother that paints the gates named Franco. And he was painting these gates, and he asked me to come there and videotape them filming him. The name of the show was called Real People, and it was like one of the first reality shows. And
Byron Allen?
Byron Allen was on there. With Byron Allen in London. And for some reason, they was kind of amused that I had a video camera at that time because nobody had this equipment, but I got it from the college because I was in grad school. And I was filming him, and they were amused by that and the equipment, and it was the latest equipment. So they asked me to, they actually put me on the TV show and asked me why did I think the gates was there. And I said, the gates are there to keep the niggas out. And, of course, I didn't think they would ever use it, but they did. And this is when, there was no cable. There was only like 5 channels. And so we were at the Franco, the artist guy's house, because he had a big dinner and everything, because he was going to be on, network TV. And we're all up there on network TV, and his big moment, the show was on there. And they interviewing him, and they talk about the gates, and they cut, and here's me standing there going, the gates is there for the niggas, to keep the niggas out. And they kept it in, and he had a fit, man. He was upset. But I said, but he was good, because I looked at him after he screamed, I didn't say nothing, and he was screaming the hall for about 5 or 7 minutes. He ain't tell me to get out. He didn't say get out, so I knew I was good. And then he looked at me, and he said, why'd you do that? I said, they asked me, man. They asked me why I thought the gates were there. You didn't tell me not to talk. If you'd have told me don't say nothing, I wouldn't have said nothing. And he said, oh. He said, you're supposed to censor the people who, that's what I learned. You going to do some video, and you got some hanger-ons with you, you got to tell them all what to do, so that they don't get in the video sidelined like I did by accident, So, but that's how I met this guy named Ron, who introduced me to Stu. And I was talking, and we were sitting around at this guy's house, and I told Stu that we could build our own cable system and get a franchise from the city and build our own cable system. And of course, everybody in the room was going, well, first of all, what is cable? But I knew what cable was because I grew up in Harlem, and on the street that I lived in, on Lenox Avenue, we had cable back in the 60s. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Yeah, we had cable over there because there was this cable system called Sterling Cable, which was Percy Sutton had allowed to do it, and the guys who invented HBO is the same guy's father who owned the Knicks. His father is the inventor of HBO. And he had his own.
The guy that owns the Knicks right now?
Jim Dolan, his father, Chuck Dolan, is the guy who invented HBO. He invented it.
It was
his idea.
No wonder James Dolan got so much cash.
That's right. It was his idea. That's exactly right. and so his father at that time cut a deal to have the phone company put wires into the build of these buildings. And since I lived in Harlem, we had it. And so like the building right around the corner had it. So when I was 15, like in the 60s, we had cable. Wasn't shit on there. And it only went up to it went two all the way to 13, and then A, B, C, D, E. Channel A, Channel C, Channel B, that's it. But the pictures was clear. And he was going oh, man, we should get a color TV. So I had been like the teenagers today, or, yes, I grew up with cable. So that's how it was easy to when people was talking about cable, what is cable? I was going like, y'all know what that is? They was going, no. Yeah. So that's how I met Stu, and then I told Stu that we should go do that, and we should, raise a few $1 million. It was crazy. We're sitting in an apartment, and I go, yeah, we should raise a couple of $1 million, and we should just go do it. He said, well, I think I should talk to my wife about it. And so he had me come over and meet his wife, a few weeks later or whatever. And I told his wife, I said, this is what I think we could be doing, blah, 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 blah. She said, sounds like a good idea, go ahead. And so that's how we got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, come on. All right, so anyway, so now we know one day we got to finish that part.
Oh, this is incredible, man. What's happening?